worship the ground Anthony Fantano walks on. You want to die by medieval decapitation. Whenever someone walks in the room, you say that you're in their area. I know what you are. Say it out loud. You're anointed. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Spin It Reviews, and today I'm going to be talking about two things: the new solo album from Kele, and going over what I got at this year's Record Store Day Black Friday event. I'm kind of making these two videos into one, mostly because I don't really have enough content to do on either, but I still want to talk about both. Plus, I happen to get this album on vinyl, so it does sort of make for a running theme in a way. So, Kele is best known as the frontman of the acclaimed British indie rock band Bloc Party, who over the last couple years have become one of my favorite bands of the past decade. I hopped on a bit late around the time of their comeback in 2012 with the album 4, but I caught up with everything else shortly after and pretty much loved everything I heard. Unfortunately, though, after that album, an EP, and a tour I was lucky enough to see them at, it looks like they're back on hiatus for God knows how long. Now, I should probably preface the rest of this review by saying that even though I fully acknowledge that their debut album, Silent Alarm, is considered a classic by a lot of people, and for good reason, my personal favorite is their third album, Intimacy, which found them taking their distinct brand of angular, energetic, catchy indie rock, and infusing it and amping it up with a lot of electronics, and showing a lot more sonic and songwriting diversity. So naturally, when Kele put out his solo album, The Boxer, a couple years later during Bloc Party's first hiatus, it took that change even farther, going into electropop and even house music. And 4 years later, this follow-up trick is basically more of that. 10 tracks of smooth, coldly textured synths, danceable, four-on-the-floor beats that provide a good amount of propulsion to these songs, and, of course, Kele's vocal style, which remains as wonderfully distinct and emotive as ever. For the most part, the songs here are really well-written pieces of beat-driven pop music. If there's any issue I have with this album musically, it'd be the very clear lack of variety. Sure, Stay the Night is more of a slow burner, Coasting finds Kele going into his upper register in a really enjoyable way, and both First Impressions and Closer incorporate these female vocals and sparse guitar parts pretty nicely, but for the most part this album has a very uniform sound to it, which while it does make for good background music for a dance party or something, doesn't really make it all that interesting on their more close listen, I guess. It's basically the antithesis of an album like 4, where one of its biggest assets to me is how just incredibly diverse and scatterbrained it was. There was barely a dull moment on this thing because it always found a way to keep you on your toes. Granted, it's not like I expect everything Kele to do at this point to be a total genre hopper like that, and I do get that the style of music isn't exactly concerned with that kind of thing, but there really are times within this album when it could have used a change in pace to keep the songs from just kind of running together, beyond a few new catchy melodies being used. Lyrically, Trick goes into the tried and true album structure of falling in love with someone for the first few songs, seeing the next few sorta showing the relationship troubles and then them breaking up, and sorta leaving the end up for interpretation as to whether or not they get back together, and for what this thing sets out to do, it does it decently well. Sure, it's not the most groundbreaking concept in the world, but there are still a few really original takes on it, especially in the back half. Like, take the song Year Zero, where Kele's assuring this person that every dumb mistake they might have made romantically in the past just doesn't even matter with him. It's a take on that whole "this person's a heartbreaker but I love them anyway" theme that's just really tired at this point, and actually makes it really work, just from feeling a lot more heartfelt and even realistic. Overall, despite my little gripes with it, I still came away enjoying Trick quite a lot. It's 40 minutes of solid pop-flavored house music with a lot of songs I really see myself going back to, so I'm going to give it a 7.5. Look, at the end of the day, this is not going to appeal to the same demographic that loved albums like Silent Alarm so much, but to me that's perfectly fine. While I can't say I outright love Kele's solo stuff like I would for, say, a Bloc Party album, I still am all for an artist branching out into genres beyond what they could have very easily fallen back on, and I really gotta commend Kele for that. And now, let's talk about Black Friday vinyl. So, for those of you who don't know, on the regular record store day back in April, I made a video on what I got there. you can click the annotation here or in the description to check that out. I highly recommend it because I talk a little bit more about like my history with vinyl and stuff like that. But now I kind of want to follow that up by talking about what I got at their secondary event, the Black Friday one. So for this one, for those of you who don't know, if you're just familiar with the regular one, it's sort of going along with the whole consumerism thing going on with Black Friday in general, because of course record stores are a business that do need a little bit more support than they're getting, so naturally, good chance to help out that kind of thing would be Black Friday. But it is kind of important to note there are significantly fewer releases for the Black Friday one versus like the actual record store day. So my wish list for this one was a little bit lower in quantity than for the regular record store day, but there was still some really good stuff in there. Fortunately, I did end up getting both of my musts, which I'm going to show you in a little bit, but the ones that I had, just in case one of those wasn't available, were the Bleachers pink vinyl demos thing, which would have been interesting. The Churches Under the Tide EP, the David Bowie Sue or In a Season of Crime 10-inch, the Green Day Tune in Tokyo live album recorded during the Warning era, which would be really interesting to hear. I guess also like listening to that on YouTube or something. The South Park, James Cameron, and My Bitch Ain't No Hobbit 7-inch, because obviously. But, you know, I already have a South Park 7-inch, so that's good enough for me. And the St. Vincent, Paeda, I'm probably not pronouncing that right, and Sparrow single, which I'm probably going to listen to those songs at some point and love them because the St. Vincent album from this year is just so awesome. So the first thing is something that actually came for free in the bag I got this stuff in, that being a 7-inch from Tune Yards. Now, I've heard about this sort of art pop, art rock project that have been getting a lot of acclaim over the last couple of years, and I have enjoyed some of the hot singles like Business, Gangsta, and of course the song on here, Water Fountain. Now this is from their album Nicky Knack, which I was initially planning on getting around to, but it just kind of ended up passing me by, even though I did hear a lot of good stuff about it. This song is definitely pretty good. It's definitely eccentric, I guess that's probably the best way to put it. Well, if you're into some sort of like weird indie pop stuff, I'm sorry, I'm just kind of coming up with this off the cuff, then definitely give this thing a listen. And the B-side for this, if you're into the album, is actually a mega mix of Nicky Knack, which I guess is sort of just like a mix of the songs on the album. It definitely sounds interesting, so yeah, if you got this for a record store day, then good for you, I guess. Anyway, jumping right into the amazingness of my two musts. The first one, which I'm going to show first because it's not the vinyl release, is Guardians of the Galaxy Awesome Mix Volume 1. When I heard this thing was announced, like, there was no way I wasn't going to get this. Mainly because I do love the movie, like everyone else, I guess. I actually did a review of Guardians of the Galaxy, if you're curious, annotated all that. But yeah, this is just an amazing, like, kind of collector's thing to have. It's got all the classic songs you heard from the movie: Hooked on a Feeling, Come and Get Your Love, I Want You Back, Spirit in the Sky. You know what? I'm offended by these bandwagoners hopping on Spirit in the Sky when I heard it way back when it was in Rock Band. Admittedly, I haven't found the time between when I got this and when I'm recording this video to actually play this thing front to back, but, I mean, just having it, you know, is awesome enough, pun intended. But even that had to come before this. Mastodon, the Motherlode. Folks, this is what picture discs were made for. I mean, just look at this thing. Tell me that this is not perfect artwork for any vinyl collection. And of course it helps that this is a great song, The Motherlode. Definitely one of the more accessible songs off of Once More on the Sun. Again, great album, reviews annotated here, y'all know, you know, all that. And of course, this song most recently got in a bit of controversy because it's the single that Mastodon have been pushing a lot for Once More on the Sun. And it came with a video, namely of a lot of girls twerking, where, of course, all these metalheads started going all up in arms, about how, oh, you can't take something that's a trope in other genres and put it in my metal. That makes it not real metal, and Mastodon are posers and other crap like that. When really, I just love that Mastodon just doesn't take themselves seriously in the slightest, like, outside the music itself. Like, even, like, for the video concept, I know it's turning into a commentary for the video, but really, I just love how they basically said themselves that they purposefully just, like, started with the most cliche, like, expected Mastodon video, and just put in all, like, the twerking and, like, this insane imagery and the psychedelic effects and stuff just to mess with people, and I can really only respect a band like that. And it also comes with an instrumental version of the song Halloween. Why it's instrumental, I really have no idea, but the song is still great, obviously. And, of course, for picture discs, it does kind of go at the loss of a little bit of audio quality. So it's not amazing audio quality, but it's still enjoyable to listen to, and, I mean, this aspect is the main attraction still, so it's nothing you can really complain about. So yeah, if you did the Record Store Day Black Friday event, or got any music-related stuff for Black Friday in general, let me know what you got in the comments, any stories you might have. I'd be really interested if there are any horror stories about bigger places, since I'm not sure if fortunate enough or just smart enough to not get involved with that stuff. You guys have to decide. And going back to the Kele review, what do you think of that album? Do you agree with what I had to say? Disagree? Have any feedback about the channel in general? Let me know in the comments down below. Share this around with anyone who might be interested. Like the Facebook page in the description for updates, commentaries, music news, and reviews of older albums. And hopefully I'll see you in the next episode of Spin It Reviews. And now, I scraped my butt on the table. I'm not wearing pants.